Rafik sat quietly on the old wooden bench in the courtroom. His clothes were worn out, his shoes had holes, and his face showed signs of a hard life. People looked at him and whispered. Some laughed. Some shook their heads. "He looks like a beggar." One man said to another, "What is he doing here?" A woman whispered. The courtroom was full that day. A big case was being heard, but the attention slowly turned toward the poor young man sitting alone. He looked out of place in the clean and grand courtroom. The judge entered the room and sat on his high chair. Everyone stood up. Then they sat again. The court clerk called the case. Case number 742. Rafik Khan versus Malik Traders. Rafik stood up slowly. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were calm. The opposing lawyer, Mr. Nadeem, stood up with a proud smile. He was wearing a fine black suit and shiny leather shoes. The judge looked at Rafik. "Mr. Khan, do you have a lawyer?" Rafik shook his head. "No, Your Honor, I will speak for myself." People in the room laughed again. The judge frowned but said nothing. Mr. Nadeem smirked. "This is a waste of court time." Mr. Nadeem said, "He doesn't even have a lawyer. He doesn't even have proper clothes. What will he say?" Rafik looked at the judge. "Sir, I have something to say. But before that, I only need one phone call." The courtroom went silent. Even the judge looked surprised. "One phone call? Why?" Rafik spoke clearly. "Because the truth is outside this courtroom, and the one who knows it is waiting for my call." Mr. Nadeem laughed. "Maybe he will call his rich uncle from a fairy tale." Some people in the court laughed again, but the judge raised his hand. "Quiet!" He looked at Rafik. Something in the boy's voice sounded serious. "I will allow it," the judge said. "You may make one phone call." A police officer handed Rafik the court phone. Rafik took a deep breath and dialed a number. He held the phone close to his ear. His hand was still shaking, but his voice was calm. "It's me," he said. "They're doing it again. I need help." He paused, listening. Then he nodded. "Thank you." He hung up the phone and turned toward the judge. "He's coming," Rafik said. "Who's coming?" the judge asked. Rafik did not answer. Simply sat down again. The room was filled with silence and confusion. Who was he calling? Was he serious? Was this a trick? Mr. Nadeem looked worried for a second, but quickly smiled again. "This is a joke," he said. "Let's finish this." But the judge was now curious. He looked at Rafik more closely. This poor boy was not afraid. He looked tired, yes, but not broken. He sat straight. His eyes had something different, something strong. "Tell me, Mr. Khan," the judge asked, "why are you fighting this case?" Rafik looked up. "Because they stole from me," he said. "Not just money. They stole my life, my family's respect. They lied, and I am here to bring the truth." The judge stared at him. So did everyone else. For the first time, the courtroom was quiet, not because of rules, but because of respect. Mr. Nadeem laughed nervously. "He has no proof." Rafik said, "The proof is on the way." The judge leaned back in his chair, thinking. The boy's confidence was not normal, not fake. It came from somewhere. Outside the courtroom, the sound of a car stopping made a few heads turn. Rafik smiled slightly. "He's here," he whispered. The judge noticed the change in Rafik's face. "What's going on?" Mr. Nadeem asked. "Who did he call?" No one answered. And then the courtroom doors opened. Everyone turned to look. The courtroom doors opened slowly. For a moment, everything stopped. People turned their heads. Even the judge leaned forward. A tall man in a dark blue suit walked in. His shoes shined. His face was serious, and two security men followed him. He looked important. powerful, rich. Whispers filled the room. Who is he? I've seen him on TV. Isn't that Mr. Arsan? Yes, Arsan Malik, the billionaire, Mr. Arsan walked straight toward Rafiq. He didn't look at anyone else. The room was silent as he stopped in front of the poor young man sitting alone. Then, something unexpected happened. He bent down and hugged Rafiq. I got your call, Mr. Nair, Arsan said softly. I'm here, just like I promised. Rafiq nodded. Thank you for coming. The judge stood up. Wait a moment. You two know each other. Mr. Arsan looked at the judge and replied, Yes, this boy once saved my life. Now it's my turn. Mr. Nadim, the opposing lawyer, suddenly looked nervous. His smile faded. What is happening here? Mr. Arsan ignored him and handed a sealed envelope to the judge. Your Honor, he said, this file contains the truth. Every document, every piece of evidence, and the full story behind why this boy is standing in your courtroom today. The judge took the envelope and opened it slowly. He began to read. His eyebrows lifted. His eyes grew wide. Line after line, page after page, his expression changed. The courtroom remained silent. Outside, the news had already started spreading. A crowd was gathering near the entrance. Reporters were setting up their cameras. Something big was happening. Inside, the judge finally spoke. These documents, these names, these signatures, he whispered. Is this all true? Mr. Arsan replied. Every word. And if you want more proof, I have people outside ready to testify. Mr. Nadim stood up quickly. Objection, Your Honor. This is not fair. He is trying to distract the court. The judge raised his hand. Enough. He looked directly at Rafiq. You knew this would happen. Rafiq answered calmly. I didn't know how, but I believed the truth would come. And now it's here. The judge looked back at the file. He flipped a page and stopped. This shows that Malik Traders has been stealing money, lying to customers, and trying to frame Rafiq for a theft he didn't commit. Mr. Nadim turned pale. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The judge banged his gavel. This court will take a break, he said. I need time to review this. We will continue in 1 hour. People stood up. Some walked out. Some stayed, whispering. Rafiq sat quietly, breathing deeply. His hands were no longer shaking. Mr. Arsan sat beside him. You didn't forget me, Mr. Arsan said with a smile. How could I? Rafiq replied. You were the only one who believed in me once. Mr. Arsan placed a hand on Rafiq's shoulder. Now the world will believe in you too. From the back of the room, a young girl watched Rafiq. It was his sister, Zara. She had tears in her eyes. He gave her a small smile. The moment had changed everything. One phone call, one truth. And the courtroom that once laughed at him was now silent with respect. But this was just the beginning, because the truth had arrived. And it was louder than money, stronger than lies. While the judge reviewed the documents during the court break, Rafiq sat quietly. His eyes stared at the floor, but his mind was far away, lost in memories. His journey to this courtroom was not easy. It was full of pain, loss, and silent battles. 4 years ago, Rafiq lived in a small village with his parents and younger sister, Zara. Their home was simple, but their hearts were full. His father, Master Jamil, was a school teacher. People in the village respected him. Rafiq was a bright student. He always stood first in his class. He wanted to become a lawyer, not for money, but to help people like his father, helped others with his wisdom. But one evening, everything changed. A police van came to their house. The neighbors watched from windows and doors. 2 officers dragged Master Jamil out of the house. You're under arrest, the officer shouted. For what? Rafiq cried. The officer didn't answer. They took his father away. No warning, no reason, only silence. Later they found out someone had accused Master Jamil of stealing school funds. A false report, no proof, just lies from people who were jealous of his respect and kindness. The school suspended him. The villagers stopped talking to them. Rafiq's mother fell sick from stress. Within months, their happy home was gone. Master Jamil died in jail. Not because of illness, but because of heartbreak. Back to the present. Rafiq closed his eyes in the courtroom and took a deep breath. The memory of his father's last words still echoed in his mind. Never stop speaking the truth, my son. Even if your voice shakes. After his father's death, Rafiq promised himself he would become a lawyer no matter what, but it wasn't easy. He dropped out of college because he couldn't pay the fees. He worked at a mechanic's shop during the day and studied law books. At night, he borrowed second-hand books, listened to free lectures online, and read court case files in public libraries. People mocked him, called him names, but Rafiq never stopped. He took care of Zara, worked 2 jobs, and still found time to study. His dream became his only light in the darkness. One day, while working as a delivery boy, he saved a man trapped in a car accident. That man was Mr. Ahsan Malik, the same billionaire who had walked into the courtroom earlier. Rafiq didn't know who he was at that time. He just helped him like a human should. After the hospital stay, Mr. Ahsan asked, "Why did you risk your life for me?" Rafiq replied, "Because your life matters, just like mine, and I don't want to see another man die when I can stop it." Mr. Ahsan promised him, "If you ever need anything, just one call and I'll be there." Rafiq never used that offer. Until today, present day, courtroom Rafiq opened his eyes as the memories faded. He looked around. The room that once mocked him was now quiet. Waiting for the judge's decision, Mr. Nadeem, the lawyer who laughed at Rafiq's clothes, sat with sweat on his forehead. He had seen the documents. He knew what was coming. Zara, sitting in the back, smiled through her tears. She had seen her brother fall, break, and rise again. Mr. Ahsan leaned closer. "You kept your promise to your father." Rafiq nodded. "And now I will get justice. For him." After the break, the courtroom doors opened again. Everyone returned to their seats. The judge walked in and sat with a serious face. He had now read all the documents given by Mr. Ahsan. The room was quiet. Tension was in the air. Rafiq sat calmly. Zara watched her brother with pride. Mr. Nadeem, the rich lawyer, wiped his forehead with a tissue. He had lost his smile. The judge cleared his throat. "This case has taken a surprising turn," he said. "The documents provided show serious fraud by Malik traders. But before I make any decision, I want to hear from one more person mentioned in the files." Everyone looked around. The judge continued. "Please bring in Mr. Hidayatullah, the former accountant of Malik traders." The courtroom gasped. Even Mr. Nadeem looked shocked. "What? He disappeared years ago." 2 police officers entered with an old man between them. His hair was grey, his clothes simple, but his eyes were sharp. He walked slowly but firmly. Rafiq sat up straight. "That's him," he whispered. "That's the man who knew everything, but vanished." The judge looked at the old man. "Mr. Hidayat, are you ready to tell the truth today?" The old man nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. I've stayed silent for too long." He faced the courtroom and began to speak. "I was the chief accountant for Malik Traders. Years ago, I found out they were stealing money from poor workers and hiding the fraud in fake records. When I refused to be part of it, they threatened me." He pointed at Mr. Nadeem. "He and the company's owner made false documents in my name. They said I ran away with money. But the truth is, I was hiding, afraid. Until this boy, Rafiq, found me. Gasps filled the room. Mr. Nadim stood up, angry. This is a lie. He's a liar. But the judge raised his hand. Sit down, Mr. Nadim. Let him speak. Mr. Hidayat continued. Rafiq came to me last month. He showed me his father's case. I saw the same lies in both files. I realized the same people who destroyed his father were now trying to destroy him. He paused and looked at Rafiq. But this boy, he didn't ask for money. He didn't beg for help. He asked me to speak the truth. Just once. And I couldn't say no. The judge looked at Mr. Arsan. You brought him here. Mr. Arsan nodded. With full protection. He will testify. And the media will know everything. Mr. Nadim's hands were shaking. His voice trembled. This is a setup. The judge stared at him. You're the one who laughed at a poor man. You mocked him for not wearing a suit. But now we see who really has honor. The courtroom clapped quietly. Rafiq didn't smile, but his eyes shone. The judge banged the gavel. Court is adjourned until tomorrow. I will announce the final decision then. People stood up, whispering to each other. Reporters rushed outside to share the news. Mr. Nadim walked out fast, trying to hide his face. He had lost control. Rafiq stood and walked to Mr. Hidayat. Thank you, sir, he said. The old man replied, No, son. Thank you. You reminded me that truth never dies. It only waits. Zara came forward and hugged her brother. Bye, you did it. Rafiq smiled softly. Not yet, Zara. Tomorrow is the final step. But deep inside, he knew something bigger was about to happen. Because when truth begins to rise, lies start to fall. And the world was watching now. Next morning, the courtroom was full. Reporters filled the back rows. Cameras flashed outside. People stood in silence, waiting for the judgment. It wasn't just about Rafiq anymore. It had become a case of truth versus power, of justice versus pride. Rafiq walked in wearing the same old clothes. But today, he walked with confidence. His back was straight. His eyes were calm. Zara walked beside him, holding his hand. Mr. Arsan followed close behind, like a shield of support. On the other side, Mr. Nadim sat stiffly. His phone buzzed again and again. People were cutting ties with him. His reputation was falling like dust in the wind. The judge entered. The courtroom stood. Silence filled the room. The judge sat and looked at the people in front of him. This court has reviewed the documents, the testimony of Mr. Hidayat Ullah, and all available evidence. He began. And today, we give our decision. Rafiq held his breath. Zara squeezed his hand. The judge continued. It is clear that Rafiq was wrongly blamed. It is also clear that Malik traders, under the legal guidance of Mr. Nadim, framed him using false reports and planted evidence. Whispers spread across the room. The judge raised his voice. Therefore, the court declares Rafiq innocent of all charges. Not only that, this court orders an immediate investigation against Malik traders and Mr. Nadim for fraud, forgery, and misleading the court. Mr. Nadim stood up, panicking. Your Honor, this is unfair. You can't do this. But the judge slammed his gavel. You laughed at a poor man. You tried to destroy him. But today, the law is laughing at you. 2 police officers moved forward and placed handcuffs on Mr. Nadim. His face turned pale. His pride broke into pieces. Cameras clicked. Reporters spoke into microphones. Breaking news! Poor man wins case against powerful lawyer. Rafiq's story shaking the justice system. Rafiq stood still, tears filling his eyes. Not tears of sadness, but of relief, of justice, of a promise kept. Zara hugged him tightly. Bye, we're free now. Mr. Arsan stepped forward and placed a hand on Rafik's shoulder. You didn't just fight for yourself. You fought for every person who was told they were too poor to fight back. Rafik looked at the judge. Your Honor, he said softly. May I say something? The judge nodded. Go ahead. Rafik turned to the crowd. His voice was clear, strong. I was laughed at because of my clothes, because I couldn't afford a lawyer, because I came from a poor house. But today I stand here, not because of money, but because of truth. He paused and continued. There are many like me, people who suffer quietly because they don't have power. I hope my story reminds them. You don't need riches to raise your voice. You just need courage. The room clapped. Some had tears in their eyes. The judge smiled. This court is proud of you, Rafik. Justice is not only for the rich. Today, you proved that. As Rafik walked out of the courtroom, dozens of people stepped aside to let him pass. Reporters called out his name, but he didn't stop for fame. He looked at the sky and whispered, Abu, I kept my promise. Rafik stepped out of the courtroom into the bright sunlight. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But Rafik didn't stop. He wasn't looking for attention. He was looking for peace. Zara walked beside him, holding his hand tightly. We did it, Bai, she whispered. Rafik smiled gently. No, Zara, we didn't do it alone. Truth did. 1 week later, the news had spread across the country. Social media was full of headlines. Poor boy shocks the court, wins case without a lawyer. Rafik's truth brings down powerful legal giant. People from villages and cities sent letters and messages. Some sent money. Others just said, thank you for inspiring them. Rafik and Zara sat together in their small home. We can fix the roof now, Zara said with a smile. Rafik laughed softly. Yes, and maybe paint the walls too. There was a knock at the door. Rafik opened it and saw Mr. Asan standing there with a briefcase and a wide smile. I hope I'm not disturbing you, he said kindly. Not at all, sir. Please come in. Mr. Asan sat down and looked around the humble house. Simple, clean, honest, just like you. Rafik smiled, a little shy. Thank you for everything, sir. I couldn't have done this without you. But Mr. Asan raised his hand. No, Rafik. I just answered your call. You did the real work. You saved my life once. And now you've saved many others by your courage. He opened the briefcase and pulled out a file. What's this? Rafik asked. A scholarship, Mr. Asan said. To complete your law degree at the best university in the country. Full funding, books, fees, housing, everything covered. Rafik was speechless. But why me? Because the country doesn't need more rich lawyers, Mr. Asan said, his voice full of emotion. It needs honest ones, brave ones, like you. Zara wiped her tears. Rafik slowly took the file. I'll work hard. I'll make you proud. You already have, Mr. Asan said. 2 months later, Rafik walked through the large gates of his new university. Students looked at him, not because of his clothes, but because of his story. He had become a symbol, a message, a hope for others like him. He sat in the front row, took out his notebook, and began taking notes. He wasn't the richest in the room, but he had the strongest reason to be there. Back in his village, people had started talking to Zara again. Neighbors who once looked down on them now greeted her with smiles. The school where their father taught reopened his old classroom and named it after Master Jamil. On the door it said, "The Classroom of Truth, in memory of a man who taught without fear." One night Rafik sat alone under the stars, reading a book. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "Abu, We're moving forward, just like you wanted. He knew the journey ahead would be hard, but he was ready. Because when you walk with truth, you never walk alone. The courtroom was silent again. A young lawyer stood at the center, holding a file in his hand. His voice was calm, clear, and powerful. Your Honor, my client is innocent. He's just a rickshaw driver. He was blamed because he couldn't afford a lawyer. But today, he has someone to speak for him. The judge nodded slowly. Continue, Mr. Rafiq. Yes, Rafiq was now a lawyer. His suit was still simple. His shoes were still worn out, but his heart, stronger than ever. He had become famous. Not for money, not for style, but for standing beside those who had no voice. Outside the courtroom, people waited to meet him. A young girl handed him a letter. My mother says thank you, she said softly. You saved our house. Rafiq bent down, smiled, and said, Tell her, I just did my duty. Zara stood near the car, watching her brother with pride. She was now studying to be a teacher, just like their father. Bye, she said. Everyone loves you now. Rafiq shook his head. No, Zara. They love the truth. I'm just its servant. Later. That night, Rafiq returned to his small office. It wasn't big. It had only one desk, a fan, and a picture of his father on the wall. He sat down, closed his eyes, and thought about the past, the court, the lies, the laugh from Mr. Nadim, the fear, the pain, the fight, the truth, and then the justice. He opened a letter from a boy in a village far away. Dear Rafiq Pai, my brother is in jail for a crime he didn't do. We have no money. Can you help us? Rafiq smiled. He picked up his pen and wrote, I'll be there. Don't worry. You are not alone anymore. Because Rafiq had made I promise years ago that no poor man would ever stand alone in court again. In the village, the school wall now had a new message. Truth may walk slowly, but it never falls. Zara taught that to every child, and when they asked who said it first, she would smile and say, My brother. One final scene. Rafiq stood on stage, being honored with a national award. The president gave him a medal and said, For fighting for justice, for making the court listen to the unheard, for reminding us that even the poorest voice matters. The crowd clapped, but Rafiq stepped to the mic and said only one line. This medal is not for me. It is for every person who was laughed at, but kept walking. As he walked off stage, he looked up at the sky and smiled. Abu, we did it. And the stars above seemed to whisper back, Yes, my son. You became the voice I always wanted to be.